So this got uploaded 2 days ago. So obviously Paul Hellyer is passed away now. So this isn't necessarily new, but it's never been uploaded before. So it's never been seen before, but it's from 2008. And if you guys have seen any of Paul Hellyer before, as I said, Minister of Defense during the 60s for Canada, and he was talking about tall whites and Nordics and multiple species being here, UFO retrieval programs a long time ago. Okay, so this is going to be very interesting. Jerry says it's a shame we didn't pay attention to what a lot of these guys were screaming in the 90s because a lot of them are now gone. Yeah, yep. It's funny, isn't it, how, you know, we look at Robert Dean a lot. We look at like Wendell Stevens, these guys. I mean, Bob Lazar's still alive, but I mean, you could even say he was around that era too. He got the same treatment as Bob Dean and all that, but you know, Lazar's still here. I'm looking forward to that Project Gravator documentary that's coming out eventually. We should place bets on what's going to come out first, The Age of Disclosure or Project Gravator. They're both like these mystical things just in the shadows that nobody knows what the hell is going on with them. I feel like we'll probably get Project Gravator first, I reckon. That's what I think. But you're right. And, you know, I think it's convenient, you know, that these people only need to be discredited for as long as they're alive. And then it's like they just kind of get washed away with the rain. All these guys you're mentioning were all pre-internet. These are the people that built my foundation in the topic. Yep. That's why I like to go back to them, because it just, all the shit that we get today. I've said this before, and I don't know if everyone fully understands what I'm saying. But I feel like we what is happening right now is just the X-Files in 5D on podcasts and through Congress. In 5D. I think that's what's important. Like, you think this is all real, but it's actually a TV show, but it's in 5D. So it feels real because it's coming through your podcast. It's coming through your News Nation. It's coming through these whistleblowers. Like, no, you're just watching a TV show. You're just watching a show. And the reason why I say the X-Files is because I'd never watched the X-Files until not long ago. We watched a bit of the first season, and literally all the things that were in every episode were like, you know, themes and ideas and topics that were like circulating now in stories that we hear now. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is the same shit that's happening right now, but through Congress and through spooky guys on podcasts and shit like that. Like, it's the same thing. It's just in 5D. Yo, if you're enjoying this clip, make sure you subscribe below and head on over to the main channel if you want to watch the full replay of this video. You might even be able to catch one of the streams live one time and get involved in the chat as well. All the links you need will be down below.
Is it correct to say that the Canadian government had a secret UFO project?
It is, yes, they did. And they didn't, it was called Project Magnet, as you know. And for 4 years it operated in the open. But then, as Smith himself says in a speech that he made in Western Canada, there was so much press attention that they went underground. And this sort of gives you an indication of what happened in the United States too. They were just getting too much attention, so they went underground. The difference is they've stayed underground for 60 years.
So there you go. He's saying the Canadians had a UFO program called Project Magnet that operated in the public for 4 years. But it got so much attention that they took it underground and did it in the shadows. But it wasn't forever. And he's saying the difference is in America, they just went underground and have been underground ever since. Like, it's still happening.
And that's too long to stay underground. It's time they came up and we had a look at them.
Yep.
Now, what about Canada? Any recent developments on this?
Absolutely nothing. We have a couple of chaps, as you know, Mike Bird and Victor Vigianis, who are working vigilantly to try and get the Canadian Parliament interested. They tried some months ago to get the Senate Senate Committee on Security and National Defense to hold hearings. And actually they sent me to see the head of the committee, which I did because he had worked for me years ago. And he finally said, Paul, it's too big. He said, we We need icebreakers. We need all sorts of other things that we have to turn our attention to. We just can't get involved in something that is so big. So it really went nowhere at the time. And more recently, they have sent copies of the DVD Fast Walkers to every member of Parliament, together with a letter asking them to make themselves available for a briefing on the subject. And I don't know that they've had any response yet, but perhaps it's too soon to know what kind of a response that they might get.
Josh says, why no leaked age of disclosure? Because apparently they're looking for a distributor, bro. Apparently it takes a year to find a distributor for the most anticipated movie in ufology ever. Look, if you guys are really having trouble, I know a distributor. It's called Pirate Bay. They don't charge anything. I'm sure they'll do it for free. I'll distribute it in a Discord movie night. How about that? Richard Power and Tammy, did you guys carpool? Because you two freaks just walked in here at the same time. Welcome. Take a seat. Get yourself a glass of water. Sit down. Get comfortable.
See, it was one of my original concerns that I expressed when I went public, that the United States was going to weaponize space. Well, to the best of my knowledge, they've been doing just that. They're working on it and using the technology that they got from the extraterrestrials, which is the ironic part of it all, and preparing to shoot them down. And this doesn't make any sense if, in fact, they were peaceful. And all of the information that I can get from all sources is that they were peaceful and they had information they wanted to share with us to save our planet. And it was, in effect, rejected, that they were just not allowed to participate, except perhaps a few renegades that they might have involved in some of the what I call the diabolical projects that are being developed in Arizona and New Mexico and Nevada.
What he's saying here, in that there was benevolent ET species trying to reach out to Earth and offer technology and things that could save the planet and save society, but it was rejected or it was met with like hostility. That is, I don't want to say hard to believe, because I mean, you know, this whole topic in a way is hard to believe, but like, I think it's more like I just really don't want to believe that, not just because it's like the narrative that I don't enjoy, but like if that's true, that like, you know, we had one chance at like elevating civilization and progressing as a society, but some psycho apes with bombs decided to shoot at it instead, and now we're cooked. Like that's pretty fucked, if that's true. But I don't know. I also think that it could be true, but there could be more to it than that. It could be true that maybe that happened, but maybe, okay, I'm going to get real wild here, so just don't believe what I'm about to say. I'm just spitting out theories, but like maybe a craft or species did come in, say, the 30s or the 40s or the 50s to offer this intervention of, you know, elevation for society, but the United States military-industrial complex was already compromised by a different malevolent alien species. And that species has been, through the military, trying to psionically lure in these craft and shoot them down with an EMP weapon and reverse engineer it. Who knows? That's just a theory. Don't take what I'm saying as truth. I'm just spitballing with you guys, all right?
But I think it's just very important for all of the people of the world to know that what we're really talking about is not extraterrestrials, yes or no. We're talking about the future of the Earth. And they were concerned about it. And one of the reasons they started showing up in the 1950s was because we had developed atomic bombs. And this affects our gravitational fields and has a devastating effect. And if there were a lot of them used, it would make our planet uninhabitable, and it would make it uninhabitable for them to come and visit.
Sorry, I just had a thought. And, you know, I think what's important to consider here is that, like, one thing that we hear with the phenomenon is that it is and again, the phenomenon's such a broad term, right? There's probably multiple things in it, multiple species, multiple agendas. But we hear that there is this trickster element to it. There is this element to it that is full of mimicry and that we can't trust. So if we are to consider what Beatriz Villarroel has just put out on this paper about a thousands of transients, which could potentially be some kind of sphere network, like what Patrick Jackson has written about, and maybe our nukes are messing with that network, and we've been knocking them out the sky, and we've been, disabling this sphere network that we've found that's surrounding the globe. The fact that, like, what Paul is saying here, that I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, that this species could be getting in contact with us, trying to, like, not blackmail us, like gaslight us in a way. Be like, oh, look, this is bad. These nukes are really bad. You're not going to go anywhere. But in reality, maybe that's like the only way to break out of the sphere network, the control system. And they're trying to, like, gaslight society into leaving the sphere network alone so we stay in the pen. Again, just a theory. I don't necessarily believe that, but I'd just like to throw out different ideas.
For whatever purpose, so that we have a mutual interest of trying to preserve planet Earth. And that is the stake. That's the reason that every minister, not just defense ministers, but every minister, ministers of energy, ministers in charge of food, they should all be concerned because the extraterrestrials have things they can teach us. The extraterrestrials really have information that if we would take advantage of it, that I think we could save the planet. But I read last week a most disturbing thing in the paper about we have 40 years, we're doomed, and there's nothing we can do about it. I don't believe it. We're not there yet, but we're getting very close. We could have maybe 10 years to start really changing. When I say really changing, I don't mean building a few windmills out in the plains somewhere. I mean using clean energy to replace fossil fuels, and right away, and planting trees and doing all of the things that have to be done. And if we did that, and if we did it with the same verve and urgency that we would use if we were going to war, if we launched a war to save our planet, we could do it. We could win it. But unless we do, we're going to be in terrible trouble. And future generations are going to look back and say, what were you doing? Were you sleeping? Did you just sleepwalk into disaster? Which is what we're doing at the present time. And that.
It's interesting as well how, like, he's saying the same thing as what we saw Dr. Carol Rosen say the other day when she's talking about her time working with Werner von Braun. He was the one also saying we need to stop the weaponization of space. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, why. I'm thinking about it in the context of this sphere network and this paper that's coming out, that there might be thousands of these things already parked in space, and our reaction to them was, bluegill triple prime, starfish prime, high altitude nuke tests to try and knock these things out of the sky and see what they were. And then we get these people coming out saying we have to stop the weaponization of space. Like, are they saying we have to stop trying to mess with the electric fence that's around us? Why would they say that? Is it because somehow they know that messing with that fence is going to lead to a retaliation of, like, proportions that we could never deal with? Or are they the ones that walk among us and they're also trying to gaslight us into staying in our pen? I'm not advocating for the weaponization of space, but, like, what? I can't help but think and put the shoe on the other foot. And I think it's important to do just as a thought exercise. Like, what if it really is a prison planet? What if we really are stuck here under control by some more, like, advanced species that is way more intelligent than us, but looks just like us, that is in places that control most of society, and the weaponization of it is to try and get out of that. And the people telling us not to are just trying to gaslight us to stay in our pen. Damn, that's dark. Yeah, bro. I mean, you spend a little while in this topic, and it doesn't matter which road you take, you'll probably end up somewhere pretty dark. I just flat out say that I think either America and my country too, okay, relax, I'm not having to go at Americans, I'm saying America / Western society, at the very least, maybe more than that, but I can't really comment on more than that. But I think Western society is being controlled by a malevolent extraterrestrial force. And when I say extraterrestrial, I don't necessarily mean from another planet, I just mean a non-human intelligence. To be clear, I actually think it's probably been here for a long time. Maybe has always been here. Probably isn't from another planet. That's what I think. And it makes a lot of sense because I do agree with you, Monkey Sausage, that we're not born evil. We aren't inherently evil. But when you look at the way society is and the things that are going on in the world and how much lack of care there is for just average human beings, and how we are literally farmed for our time and our energy and our attention. Those three things are like extracted out of us on a daily basis all day, whether it's at work, whether it's by the TV, whether it's by consumerism trying to make you spend the money that you just spent all day working on. Like we are farmed. We are literally farmed for our time, energy, and attention. And that just doesn't seem right to me. That seems like something dark is at the very, very, very top. I'm not some conspiracy theorist that thinks like everyone in the government's out to get us. No, I think most people in the government are NPCs, and a lot of people are just asleep. And like some of these NPCs work, they get into their careers and they work their way up. And like some people are so happy to become like the lead news anchor for CNN or like a journalist for some propaganda machine, but they don't know that they can't see what they're working for. So they don't realize that they're like propping up the machine. They're not evil. They're just dumb. Like they don't have bad intentions. They're just like either NPCs or they're asleep or they just refuse to like see what's actually going on. And that's why I respect Tucker Carlson. I know he's a divisive figure. I'm not saying I agree with everything that he says, but I respect him because he was that guy. He came from a family. His father was a journalist, and he grew up in that environment. He became the guy, the news anchor that everyone knew. Probably dreamed of that job his entire life, and then suddenly the light switched on, and he realized this is fucked. Like this is actually bullshit. This is not truth. This is not honesty. I don't want to be a part of this, and he got out. And, again, I think this is important with everything, and a lot of people get caught up on this shit. Put your like thoughts about his character, about the way that he is aside, and just like I think people should respect that move because a lot of people don't have the balls to do that. A lot of people will stay comfortable where the money is for the paycheck and put their morals aside. Brambro says Tucker Carlson did that interview with Sean Ryan. He knows what's going on, and he said it's actually terrifying. Yeah, I think, in that interview, I think it was that interview, Tucker said, talking about the UFO problem, he said, I think I know what's going on. I think I know enough that I don't want to know anymore. And at the time when he said that, I was kind of like, I remember thinking, I feel like I know a fair bit. And like, I couldn't quite relate to what he was saying. Like, I felt like I kind of could, but I wasn't sure. Now I'm like, yeah, me too, bro. Me too. I think I understand what's going on too. And I don't mean that I don't mean to say like I know I know the answers because I don't, but I think I have enough perspective of, because it's not just the UFO thing. I think the UFO is just one element to a much bigger, darker story. And I think I'm starting to see how these things connect now. And yeah, I don't know if I want to know much more either, at least about, obviously I want the truth and answers to come out, but I think it's not nice.
Life on Earth.
Well, because unless they know what the extraterrestrials either have told us that the Americans know that no one else knows, or what they would be willing to tell us if we said to them, please come down and share your information and we won't kill you. But they're not going to come. They have apparently some kind of an arrangement that they're not going to interfere unless they're invited. So people have to know, so that they can insist of their governments, we want to put out the welcome sign and say, please come and help us. Tell us what we need to know about energy to save our planet. Give us some guidance and better methods of medical procedures and so on. But they will not come, and especially now after what's been going on the last few years. They will not come unless they have the welcome mat put out. And so that's the reason the people of the world have to exert pressures on their politicians, who allegedly have some authority and power, but in some
keyword allegedly
cases don't seem to have very much, and demand some action.
Do you think it is really in the hands of the politicians, or is it maybe in the hands of other people who kind of control politicians?
Coffee Grinder says, I feel we need more morals, not technology. Put it on a t-shirt, bro. I like it. I agree.
Well, in the United States, the main source of information is beyond the government. And I'm sure of this. I'm sure that the Secretaries of Defense in the United States do not know what all of the black projects are. I'm sure that the president doesn't know. President Clinton tried to find out. He couldn't. He admitted that there was a government within the government, and he didn't control it. Now, this is, excuse me.
Deep state, shadow government, it's all real.
Here's the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, who presumably has his finger on the nuclear trigger, and he doesn't know what his subordinates are doing. Now, that's not democracy, and it's not right. And it's going to take a tremendous wrench to get the information out, because there are allegations that a lot of it is controlled by private interests within government, that this cabal has dual loyalties, both inside government and out. But there is always a way. And, if the Congress, for example, really wanted to get the information, all we would have to do is say, no more money until you come clean. We'll pay your salaries and enough money to get you to and from your work, but nothing else until you start coming clean and giving us the information. It needs something of that order of magnitude. And until somebody really is willing to do it, nothing is going to happen. But that is possible. The Congress could do it. And if they smarten up and accept their legal responsibilities to know what is happening to the money that they're voting, then it wouldn't be long before we would have full disclosure. And that is what I hope will happen at some stage.
Don't hold your breath, Paul. That's right. He's dead now anyway. It doesn't matter. Yeah, don't hold your breath, mate.
What do you think is going to happen when full disclosure takes place? Can you imagine it happening in this system? And I'm referring to the economic system.
Well, of course. Disruption, yes, but there's been disruption before. And there are lots of things that can be done. My primary interest is monetary theory. So you have to change the monetary system so we don't have the banks collapsing the system every few years as they do now. That's a different subject, but it's interestingly enough, it, along with the extraterrestrials, are the two subjects that a lot of the major news outlets won't touch. And they should investigate both, because both are critical. But if they solve the monetary problem, and then if they had a phasing in of new energy sources, and Jim Sparks, one of the experiencers, as you know, has suggested that one way of doing it is to offer the oil companies a large part of the profit for a few years while the phasing out occurs. Say, okay, you get in the business of the clean energy, and we'll let you benefit on a sliding scale, starting out at 90 or 100% of the profits and reducing each year over a period of 10 or 20 years, something like that. But let's get it done. And if you do this, if you really attack it intelligently, there's no reason why the economy can't, I would say prosper, because you can start doing things all over the world with the money that you were blowing on weapons.
I'm trying to cover the thing up. What he's saying, like, it makes a lot of sense, and it's such a shame if there's truth to it, which there probably is, that one of the key things that is like making disclosure seemingly impossible is that what it's going to do to the economy, what it's going to do to these massive businesses and, big institutions, oil, gas, whatever, when people no longer need them. These companies basically control the world sounds a little bit far, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to think that disclosure is not happening because it's more complicated than just like economy concerns, business concerns, financial concerns. Like, if that's what is stopping all of this, that's fucked. Like, I hope it's something deeper than that. That makes sense when it all comes out.